In the early 17th century, Angola was a region of thriving kingdoms. At the heart of this rich land were the Ndongo and Matamba kingdoms, home to a people rich in culture and strength. But it was a time of turmoil. The Portuguese, hungry for power and slaves, cast their gaze upon these kingdoms, sparking an era of conflict and bloodshed. Amidst this chaos, a young woman named Nzinga was rising and ready to take her place in history. Nzinga was born into royalty, a princess of the Ndongo kingdom. Her father, King Kilombo Kia Kasenda, saw in her not just the grace of a princess, but the fire of a warrior. Trained in the art of war and diplomacy, Nzinga's path was set, not by tradition, but by destiny. In 1617, the Portuguese launched a full-scale invasion of the Ndongo kingdom, aiming to control the region's wealth and enslave its people. Nzinga, witnessing the devastation, knew that she had to act, not just as a diplomat, but as a warrior. In 1622, Nzinga traveled to Luanda to negotiate peace with the Portuguese. In a room filled with enemy soldiers and their governor, she made a bold move, refusing to sit on the floor like a subjugated queen. She had one of her attendants kneel so she could sit on their back, asserting her equal status to the Portuguese. Nzinga's brother, King Angola Mbande, crumbled under the pressure of Portuguese demands and internal strife. In 1624, he took his own life. Nzinga, through her brilliance and strength, was crowned Queen of Ndongo, marking the beginning of a new era. To strengthen her position, Nzinga allied with the kingdom of Matamba and took control of it, now ruling over both Ndongo and Matamba. She turned the tide of war against the Portuguese. Nzinga was not just a queen, she was a warrior, leading her armies personally. She fought bravely on the battlefield. Her strategies were bold, combining guerrilla warfare and diplomatic cunning. Her legend was only beginning. The war between the Portuguese and Nzinga's kingdom raged for years. Portuguese forces, armed with superior weapons, seemed unstoppable. But Nzinga was undeterred, launching ambushes and surprise attacks, wearing down her enemies. In 1641, Nzinga made a bold move, allying with the Dutch, who also opposed the Portuguese. Together, they launched a campaign to push the Portuguese out of Angola. With the Dutch as her allies, Nzinga led her forces to a great victory at the Battle of Kombi in 1647. This victory cemented her status as one of Africa's greatest military leaders. But not all alliances last. When the Dutch withdrew their support, Nzinga faced a series of setbacks. Portuguese forces regained their strength, pushing Nzinga and her people into a difficult position. Though outnumbered, Nzinga never gave up. She turned to guerrilla warfare, using the dense jungles and mountains to her advantage, striking the Portuguese when they least expected. Despite her victories, Nzinga was forced into exile. But even in exile, she maintained her power and influence, rallying her people and keeping the flame of resistance alive. Against all odds, Nzinga returned to power. She never stopped fighting for her people's freedom, becoming a symbol of resistance and strength for generations to come. By the mid-17th century, Queen Nzinga had fought for decades. Her battles had left a heavy toll on her kingdom, and while she had won many victories, the constant conflict drained the resources of Ndongo and Matamba. The Portuguese, never fully defeated, continued to send reinforcements, armed with superior weapons and supported by local rivals of Nzinga. They began to encroach further on her territories. Nzinga's leadership was not without challenges from within. Rival factions in her court grew bolder as the war dragged on. Internal dissent weakened her hold on power. creating cracks in her empire. In the face of all these challenges, Nzinga suffered a personal blow. Her beloved sister Kambu, who had been her closest ally and advisor, died, leaving Nzinga to face the growing storm alone. As the years passed, Nzinga's control over her territories weakened. Key regions fell to the Portuguese, and the once great kingdom she ruled began to shrink. Yet, Nzinga remained defiant, refusing to surrender. By 1657, Nzinga knew that the time had come to make peace. She signed a treaty with the Portuguese, ending the war but maintaining her control over Matamba. Though not the ultimate victory she had hoped for, it was a testament to her resilience and tactical brilliance. In later years, Nzinga reflected on her long and storied reign. She had fought for freedom and the survival of her people against overwhelming odds. Though her kingdom had diminished, her legacy as a warrior queen remained unshaken. Queen Nzinga lived well into her 80s, an extraordinary feat for a woman who had spent most of her life in battle. In her final days, she worked tirelessly to ensure the future of her people, even converting to Christianity to secure peace with the Portuguese. In 1663, Queen Nzinga passed away at the age of 81. Her death marked the end of an era, and the news of her passing spread throughout Africa and beyond. The warrior queen was no more, but her legacy had only just begun. With Nzinga's death, a power vacuum emerged. Rival factions vied for control, and the Portuguese took advantage of the chaos. The once united kingdom she had fought so hard to protect began to fracture. Over the following decades, Nzinga's kingdom of Ndongo and Matamba fell further under Portuguese control. The proud empire she had built slowly crumbled as colonial forces took over the land and its people. But Nzinga's story did not end with the fall of her kingdom. For centuries, she inspired countless African leaders and resistance movements. From Angola independence fighters to modern women leaders, Nzinga's spirit continues to burn bright. Today, Queen Nzinga is celebrated not just in Angola, but across Africa and the world. Her statues stand tall, and her name is synonymous with resilience, freedom, and empowerment. Though centuries have passed since Queen Nzinga's time, her legacy is eternal. She remains a symbol of strength in the face of overwhelming odds, a queen whose story will forever be remembered as one of Africa's greatest.